America has no ancient history, no Vedas, no Shakespeare, no Homer. So, what did actually America do? America invented itself. Yes, you heard right. They invented itself through literature, through culture identity. And in today's lecture, we read the invention of America from the very first period, colonial to the postmodern age. That why Emerson says, trust yourself. Why Edgar Allan Poe says, trust nobody. On the one hand, Ernest Hemingway say less. Whereas William Faulkner said, say everything at once. All are right. All of them are absolutely correct, but they have different ideologies based on their literary period. So, welcome you all to Megha Discourse. I'm your educator Megha. Today we are gonna do all period of American literature, not only literary period but literary movements associated with the period, important key writers and some features of American literature which will help you in your paper. So let's start our rocking class. So this is your timeline overview. We are gonna do colonial, revolutionary, frontier, fireside movement, slave narratives, romanticism. So this is all we are gonna cover in today's lecture. And yes, one important thing I wanna add here. Here I mentioned a rough time period because it is mentioned different in different books or different sources. So this is a near approximate time period. Okay. So let us start our first. So first, and the foremost period of American literature is colonial period, roughly spans 1607 to 1776. After that, America got independence. And this period is based on realism, survival, and Puritan imagination. Now, I want to relate it with the British literature so that it is easy for you to get an easy understanding. At that time, this period, 1607 to 1776, in British literature, you will find Jacobean period, Caroline period, and also we have starting of neoclassic phase. That is, as you know, neoclassic phase is divided into three periods, that is Age of Dryden, Age of Pope and Age of Johnson. So here you will get Age of Dryden and Age of Pope influence on this literature because America is emerging. They do not have their own culture. They do not have their own literature. So they are imitating the style of British literature. So highly influence of British literature can be seen in colonial period. So first you will see the historical context of this period. The British colonies on East Coast. So in simple language, British settlement arrived in the east coast of Jamestown and Plymouth. So they can ask in your set exam which colonies first they developed. So it is Jamestown and Plymouth. That's why William Bradford, he has written of Plymouth plantation. Okay, so you have to relate this thing. And you will find here Puritan theocracy because in British period, there had influence of Puritan age. Puritan age means that is the influence of God. So this time, mostly Puritans, that is deeply religious Christian belief can be found in their work. That is God controlled everything. Human beings, they are stuffed by nature and life is a test. This kind of theory you will find in their work, and writing is a way to prove your faith towards God. You will find biblical character in their works, like same as we have in our Puritan British literature. So naturally, their writing is religious, serious and moral. So that's why they have Puritan imagination. Now, literature is tool for religious and moral instruction. It is very obvious. The first and the foremost literature they wrote, which is based on didacticism, which is based on preaching and teaching the mass. Okay, so they want to generate the religious faith among people. That's why they have influenced Puritan works in their literature, and ultimately they got sermons, diaries, journals, captivity narratives. Captivity narratives, that means a type of narrative in which they will tell about the people of captivity. That is, American is now emerging. This is the American town. Okay, so this is kind of literature you can find, and this style is very plain because it is starting of the writing. So the style is very plain. You see it language, so common people can easily understood their work and they can generate their religious faith. Simple, direct, like we have of our religious books. God-centered prose will be there. Now, Typology, that is life same as God allegory. So in their work, typological work can be seen, that is they have a character resembling biblical character, and there is a God, like we have Paradise Lost in our Puritan British literature. Similarly, they have their own work. For example, William Bradford, he wrote of Plymouth Plantation. Then we have Anne Bradstreet. She is considered as the first women writer of American literature. She wrote the 10th Muse. As you can see the name, the 10th Muse. She's the first American poet. We have Porter Mather, he wrote Magnalia Christi Americana. Then we have Jonathan Edward, who wrote Sinners in the Hand of an Angry God. And you know what, Jonathan Edward, he is considered as the poet of Great Awakening life. So he has given the philosophy on Great Awakening life. Okay. Another writer we have Mary Rowlandson, who wrote on captivity narratives, like This Is Your General. They have written sermons. Okay. So you can also add here John Smith, who wrote General History of Virginia. So we have many writers, but these are important ones. Okay. So this is about the colonial period of our American literature, from where American literature is starting. Now in this period, America is done with the Britain. Now you will find birth of nation. Okay, because 1776 is the time of American independence. So here American Revolution happens, but this revolution is of words, not for guns. So you will find here pamphlets, essay and speeches, epistles, that is letters in the form of literature. They fought their freedom on papers first. So revolution of this period is political writing. So in this period, you will find political writing as a weapon for the Americans. Okay, so that is why literature is political rhetoric and persuasive writing is dominating. Now, what is persuasive writing? To pursue your common readers that yes, we want freedom. So this writing is belong to persuasion. Now the writers, they are writing for considering, or you can say making people believe that yes, we want freedom. Freedom is everything. Okay, so that is what they call persuasive writing. Like Thomas Paine, he wrote Common Sense and the Rights of Man. This is called persuasive writing and the first, you can say, freedom writing of American literature. Now, as you know, this is revolution. So this is the time of revolution. So here American Revolution can be seen. Enlightenment philosophy. What is Enlightenment philosophy? Like in British literature, we have Enlightenment philosophy. That is science over religion. In the colonial period, their mind is based on religion, religious belief. Now it is a transition phase. Now they said we should not believe completely on religion. We should move towards science. Now the logic come in their mind. As you know, this is the time of Age of Johnson, that is age of sensibility in British literature. And sensibility comes when they have logic, emotions of individual approach, when they have reason over religion. So this kind of philosophy can be seen in American literature as well. So you will find influence of John Locke. As I taught you in semantics, the philosophy of John Locke on behaviorism concept. If you have not watched that semantics video in linguistics, so go and watch that video. It will help you to understand the concept of John Locke. So they are influenced by Voltaire, Rousseau, because all are, you can say, rebel writers. All are mesmerized writers. So they are influenced by these writers. Now, they said, like in colonial period, that God is at center. But in revolutionary period, they said reason is as center and reason should be first priority of our mass people. They said, like in colonial period, they believed in Puritan faith. They believed in sermons, dairy. They tried to glorify the God. As we have a God, we have biblical characters. But revolutionary period, you will find Enlightenment philosophy. You will find pamphlets, speeches, letter writing, epistles, and they write to claim freedom. They do not want something with God, existence of God. Yes, they said God is there, but our first priority and our, you can say, our winning thing is freedom. If we want freedom, if we get freedom, then everything is on right place. Okay, so this is the theory of revolutionary period in American literature. Now, this shift happens because of European Enlightenment, because of, I told you about the John Locke, Voltaire and Rousseau. Now, America needs them and their thought. And after reading their works, they said, wait, we have rights. And that's why the freedom thinking emerging in them. Okay, before that they are colony under British one, but after reading they said no, we should attain freedom, we should have freedom of speech, we should have something good for us. Okay, so they get Common Sense, The Right of Man, that is called political pamphlet written by Thomas Paine. You have to keep these writers into mind, that which period is important, from which period they are belonging. Then we have Thomas Jefferson, he is important one. He wrote Declaration of Independence in 1776. And yes, it is your PYQ as well. If you have seen the series of set in which I have given you 100 questions from American literature, so this is your first or second question of your set paper, and I think it is paper or MP set or Tamil Nadu set. Okay. Then we have Benjamin Franklin, and everyone knows about Benjamin Franklin. He wrote autobiography. This is the famous one, and from this autobiography, he pioneered autobiography fiction here. Then he wrote Poor Richard. Almanac is also a kind of autobiography, and this is his pseudonym, and this is your PYQ of NET paper. Okay. Then we have Alexander Hamilton, we have John Jay and James Madison. They all co-authored the Federalist paper. Okay, so this is on again on American freedom. Now, according to them, nature served as order for human people. Nature is a source of ordering. Okay, now this phase again changes. Now it is transitioned reason to emotion. How? Let's see. Now here you will find early national and frontier period. So this is the important term, and they ask you directly that what do you mean by frontier poets, or they can give statement based question on frontier period. So as you can see here, and you are evident that 1800 to 1830, this is the time of Romantic period in British literature. And in Romantic period, I told you in the history of British literature, that is the master video. If you have not watched that video, so go and watch that video. That Romantic period is based on individualism. Now they are working on individual emotions. That this is nature is everything, and we belong to this nature. We are imitating nature. Nature is guide for us, and they are working on nature because they are working on their self. They can relate nature with their soul. So similarly happened in frontier period. Their mindset is based on their identity. Now they want, yes, we should have our own identity. Myth and American frontier. So American frontier is actually a group of people, a group of writers. They came and they write for their own sake. Okay. Now revolution is over, as we can see in Enlightenment period. Now a transition phase came here. So revolution is over. Now America is free, and the question arises. Okay, we are independent, but who are we? That is identity. Who are we? What is our existence? Where we are belonging? This period is America's identity crisis period. Now the nation is new. They have the new identity. They are focusing on new experience. So the land is very vast. Suddenly they have many small cities evolving. So after independence, that small town, that small colony enlarged a lot. Okay. Suddenly the land area is so vast. It became so vast. And the writers are trying to create something that feels distinctly American. Now they don't want to mix British culture in their writing. They don't want to mix British literature and their style into their writing. They want to create something new literature. So first, there is a term that post-revolution nation is building, and this is called Louisiana Purchase. It means, you can say, America double in size overnight. That is called Louisiana Purchase. Okay, their land size is increasing because of many districts and colonies. Now, westward expansion. You can see here the settlers pushing into a non-frontier land. Okay, like we have Native American displacement. That is the dark side of expansion. Now they are emerging into different districts. They are emerging into different parts of America. In literature, you will find here American mythology. It means now they are generating their own mythologies, their own myths. That yes, we also have some folklores, we also have some legends, heroes, and they all belong to only and only America. They are not now imitating more Homer, Virgil, or any biblical characters. Now they are generating their own myths, own mythologies. They have folklore on their own spirit. Frontier hero created this in their writing. They have Gothic fiction. They have historical element. And this historical element, as I told you, it can be influenced through Age of Johnson. They were highly influenced in the previous period by Age of Johnson, that is the witty period. So they adopt the statical element of British literature here, but with a newness. You will find here rise of short story in this period. Okay, like if I say here, for them, nature law is everything. Previous period, that is in the revolution phase, they said that nature act as source of order for the human one. But here, the mindset is changed. They said nature is a testing ground. They were talking about instinct of individual. So in their writing, you will find a similar type of appeal, like we have Washington Irving, who wrote Rip Van Winkle, important one. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. We have James Fenimore Cooper. He is important one because he is known as father of Leatherstocking Tale. Okay, father of Leatherstocking Tales, in which he has given 5 important works. So this is your homework. So you have to work on all the 5 works of James Cooper. And like we have The Last of Mohicans, in which he has invented the character Natty Bumppo. Okay? He is very civilized, but he is kind of a wild character. He is associated with wilderness. So that wilderness is a main theme of this frontier period. Okay, they are frontier poets. So you can find here, like, they are civilized because they are emerging one. They want to be civilized more, but they have some wilderness in their instinct. You will find the quest of distinctively American thinking, that is, they want something American, quest of literacy, Gothic element, like in Charles Brogden Brown, he wrote The Wieland, that is first American. Like here you can see, this is the first Gothic American novel. And you know what, that Charles Brogden, he was highly influenced by our Horace Walpole, who wrote The Castle of Otranto. So he adopted his mindset, but it is not, you can say, appeal like Castle of Otranto, but yes, it is considered first Gothic American novel. So we can say here, Washington Irving, he is known for his folklore writing. He is known for father of American literature as well. He also wrote the sketchbook. Okay, so in nutshell, I will say that in revolutionary period, we have political writing, essay and pamphlets. They look for Europe. Sorry, they look at Europe for their ideas. But now in frontier period, they have creative writing. They begin short story. We have Rip Van Winkle, and they write to imagine their own story. Their literature is meant for their own story. They want to create American myths, American mythology. Okay, now they don't want to depend on British literature. So this is what our frontier period. And you have to, who were frontier poets? Washington Irving. We have James Fenimore Cooper, Charles Brogden, and William Cather. Okay, yes, we have William Cather, who wrote My Antonia, and it is also the early phase of Mark Twain, who wrote Roughing It in that period and Life at Mississippi River. Okay, so now let's move to next period. Now this is fireside poet, or you can say schoolroom poets or household poetry. This is also the period in 1830s to 1860s. Okay, now here moral poetry for the American hearth, that is fireplace poet, can be seen in this period. That is, they are a group of writers gathered by the fireplace and they read aloud their poetry, and then they named after the fireside south. Okay, so America is now settled one. Cities are growing, a middle class is emerging. Families, you can say, with their homes, fireplaces, leisure time can be found in their work, or you can say found in the society. Now, and in evening, before television, before radio, TV, families would sit by the fireplace, and they started, someone would read a poem aloud, and then in full rhyme and rhythm, and then this poem come outside from that particular society, and then the group of people, the group of writers emerged as fireside poets, schoolroom poets, or household poets. And the poet wrote for that evening, that yes, in the evening we will sit by fireside and we will recite our poem. So fireside poem is, you can say, generally poet whose works to read at home by families around the fire, in simple one. So you can say the tone is didactic, yani ki to preach moral, patriotic and sentimental verse. Now that America, that was the time of pre-Civil War. After that, Civil War happened. And as I told you, rise of middle class leadership can be found here. Okay, so tension is building, but it is not yet fully exploded in between North and South. So through you can see here rise of literacy. So in this period you can clearly see rise of it is called readership. Literacy rate is increasing day by day, and poetry becomes popular entertainment genre of this time. Now moral and patriotic poetry will be there. I told you traditional forms of poetry like ballad, sonnet, narrative poem can be seen. They wrote on nature, home, death, patriotism, and nostalgia, that is flashback technique will be in their work. Now, who are the fireside poets? Like we have Harry Longfellow, you can say he is resembling his son because he is so famous in European literature that he has given the place in Poets' Corner at Westminster Abbey, where the Chaucer and the more important, you can say, more pronoun writer was buried. Okay, so he was famous during Europe during his time. So he is the first American poet to get worldwide fame. And he wrote, the important work he wrote is the Song of Hafta. This is it. Okay. So this is the important work written by Longfellow. He has also written A Psalm of Life and Evangelina in 1847. Then we have John Greenleaf Whittier. He is a strong abolitionist. He wrote against slavery. He is called Quaker poet. He wrote Snowbound. This is important work written by Whittier. Then we have Oliver Wendell Holmes. He is actually a doctor, and he is known for his didactic teaching, or you can say essay like Old Ironside. Then we have James Russell Lowell, he is known for a fable for critics. He wrote witty and satirical work during his time. And then we have William Cullen Bryant. He is very famous. You can say he is one of the key figure in establishing American poem, and he is known for Thano. Okay, and he wrote this only at the age of 70. So these are your fireside poets. So in nutshell, you can say fireside poets, they are called schoolroom poets. Like we have H.G. Longfellow, John Whittier, Oliver Holmes, James Lowell, and William Cullen Bryant. And now it is easy for you to solve chronology-based questions coming from American writers, birth chronology. Now, slave narrative. As we know very well that slave narrative, as we have read that Greenleaf Whittier, he is called a biggest abolitionist. He wrote against slavery, and that's why he called Quaker poet. Now, this is again a transition phase from frontier to anti-frontier literature. So this slave narratives, abolitionist literature is called anti-frontier. Why? I will tell you after this, after the introduction of slave narrative. So same time when fireside poets, now we have same America, but a completely different America is emerging. Now millions of black people, millions of black writers, they have no fireside. Even they are struggling for the freedom. After getting freedom, they have no freedom. And some of them picked up pen, and what they wrote, they changed America forever. And then a new literary movement, slave narrative, emerged at that time. And you know what? That slavery in America at that time, it was legal. They legalized slavery. So that's why this movement is important for the people to get freedom. Now, this abolition movement is growing so fast in the North region. Where? In the North region first. And underground routes were emerging at that time, like railroads. Okay? Anti-slavery campaigns in North. Underground railroads they are building so that they can escape from slavery. They can protect their child and their relatives from the slavery and to get imprisoned in the jail after protest. So this is a time of American slavery. Abolition movement grows. Civil War also happened at that time. Now, what type of literature is emerging at that time? You saw a slave. Then that slave, then traumatic people, she will always talk about himself. Like, I am this, I do this, that is the first person narrative. He wants to share his experience. So his trauma. So it is autobiographical. So it is in first person, and autobiographical testimony can be found in this period. Confessional mode, that they want to confess their desires, their feelings to the people, that why are they fighting against the big people, why are they fighting against the white one. So you will find the theme of bondage, slavery, trauma. As you know what literacy as liberation, because for the black people, learning to read and write act as rebellion. Okay, so this is important thing that we said, what is in the education? No, mostly people thinking like that. What is in the education? What we can do from these degrees? Now, this is the important phase for those people who wants to learn, read and write. Okay, so racial identity will be there, and and this movement is called a precursor to African American literary tradition, in which you will find Harlem Renaissance. Okay, so this is what is we can. So this is about slave narratives. Now, slave narrative means the most urgent writing in American history. So before this period, literature is written for entertainment. Now literature is written for liberation. In the previous literature, they were talking about imagined sufferings. They were talking about the freedom. Now America is in freedom, and still a lot of, you can say, a small land is not free. So they are talking about their life suffering, their life trauma. Okay, so that's why they wrote in first person narrative, and author wants someone's property, and that's why they start writing. Like we have Frederick Douglass, he wrote narrative on the life of Frederick Douglass, and he was an slave. Okay, he was under slavery. That's why this person, this character, okay, so that's why he wrote his own autobiography. So he was born into slavery, and he taught himself to read in secret, and then he wrote this work. So this is the most powerful, most read slave narrative work. Okay, then we have Harriet Jacobs, who wrote Incident in the Life of a Slave Girl. Okay, and Harriet Jacob, you know what, that this Harriet Jacob, it was written under pen name of Linda Brent. Why? Because Harriet Jacob, thought when she wrote this work and when she published under her name, so she thought that government would give punishment to her. So she wrote under pen name Linda Brent. So this is also, this can be your question. Okay, and this work is considered as the first slave narrative written by a woman. Okay, so first American woman was Anne Bradstreet, and she was the first American slave writer. Okay, now then we have Harriet Beecher Stowe. Okay, she wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin. She's actually not a slave, but she was abolished writer. So she wrote on behalf of slave writers, or you can say slave people. So she wrote under Uncle Tom's Cabin. So this is called abolished novel, and she presents sexual vulnerability happened to the women's, and you can say maternal problems happen to the slave women's and slave girls, that how they are exploited it under the name of a women as well as a slave one. So, and you know what, there is a small anecdote of this Uncle Tom's Cabin. When Abraham Lincoln read that work, he was so mesmerized after reading this work that he met to Harriet Beecher Stowe, and he said, so you are the writer who wrote this work. So this is the name of Abraham Lincoln. So here Uncle Tom, he is the male character, and his stereotypical thinking was here presented by our Harriet Beecher Stowe. Then we have Olu Equiano, who wrote the interesting narratives. Again, it is on slavery. Okay, so he is considered as the grandfather of this genre, and he was actually a African. Okay, so this is about your slave narrative. Now we have American Romanticism. Now American Romanticism, like British Romanticism, so 1820s to 1865, as this is the time of, you can say, peak time of Romanticism and starting time of Victorian age. So when there is Romanticism in Europe, in Britain, then how can it be not happen with American people? So now revolution is done, nation is built, frontier is explored, anti-frontier came. Now America has something it never had before. Now they want to have time to think, time to feel, and time to imagine something good for them. Now they start to feel Romanticism. What is Romanticism for them? Most of the students think it wrong. Romanticism is not like that love stories. Romanticism here means a literary, philosophical movement which is completely based on individualism, which is based on soul, inner self. That is imagination, nature, and the inner self. Now, reason is not enough. The heart knows things the brain could not explain. So it is a direct rebellion against Enlightenment Renaissance. That is the reason, scientific tone of people, scientific tone of our literature. The writers said that reason, logic, order, they are nothing else. No, I don't want this in our literature anymore. We want imagination. emotions and nature intentions in our literature. Now they are moving towards that rigid thinking to a new inner self. Now they, as we know that Romanticism is started in Europe, like we have Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley, Byron. So now it came to America, but America, they experiment with this. Now they create a unique American Romanticism, and it is divided into two branches, that is Transcendentalism, which is called Light Romanticism, and Dark Romanticism, which is called Anti-Transcendentalism. Now for them, Romanticism is further divided. Their output, their thinking is different for this Romantic period. How? First we have Transcendentalism, like we have Ralph Emerson, Henry Thoreau, Walt Whitman, Margaret Fuller. It is called Light Romanticism. Now, for them, nature is God. For them, nature is everything. They said that go into nature and find your soul. Nature is the path to find your spiritual journey, to find your divine soul. Okay, they said every human has an inner light and to find the divine. Okay, the society is very corrupted. So simplify yourself. Work on your purity. They said that intuition is higher than reason and logic. If you want salvation, then work on intuition. Okay, so they said work on intuition, optimism, and self-reliance. Like this is the work of Emerson. Okay, nature is everything. So their concept is over soul. They are working on art. They are working on their soul. They said that there is one mind common to all individual man. That if you have intuition, if you are really close to nature, then you can solve everything, you can heal you. And this is the common and basic point of for every person. Like if I'm stressed for something, if you are also on stress, you're on your stress journey, then if we both will come together and work with nature, then we both can heal ourselves with the same path. So this is the philosophy of Transcendentalism. Like Ralph and Walt Emerson, he wrote Nature, Self-Reliance, The American Scholar, and The Oversoul. Okay, this is the work written by Emerson. We have Thoreau, who wrote Walden, Walt Whitman. Each and every atom belongs to you and I belongs to you. Okay, so here we have Walt Whitman, that is Song of Myself. We have Margaret Fuller. So here Walt Whitman called the voice of Transcendentalism. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Okay, then on the other hand, we have Dark Romanticism. That is, they are against Transcendentalism. They can, yeah, you are highly optimistic. Life is not about optimism. This is not true. You all are wrong. They clearly denied the existence of Transcendentalism, and they said life has pessimism. Life is so pessimistic. Life has evil character. Our soul is also evil. So they are talking about evil and dark side of our human nature, that our basic instinct can't be changed. This is the theory of Dark Romanticism. They said that we all have 7 deadly sins, like Dr. Faustus and the Paradise Lost. We have sin, guilty, psychological horror. We have Gothic element. Unlike they use Gothic element to present our sins, they presented grotesque any character in their work. Okay, so in the works, like they said, Emerson, you are saying that trust human soul, trust thyself, but have you ever noticed the human nature, how guilty they are, how sinful they are, how much evil they are inside? That's why it takes time for them to heal. Okay, so this is the philosophy of Dark Romanticism. We have psychological darkness in our mind that we are unable to present, and right people cannot see the evil mindset of people. Nowadays, you can see the evil mindset of people, how dusty they are, how greedy they are. In today's time, like we have war, there are so many rapists, there are so many crimes. Look at their mindset. So this is the idea of Dark Romanticism, that we cannot, if I am right, if I am lovely, so it is not true that the person is also lovely. Okay, so they said Edgar Allan Poe, he wrote Master of Gothic. You know what? He is called the master of Gothic horror story. He wrote in his work The Murdering Rogue, The Telltale Heart. He presents that type of character. Then we have Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote The Scarlet Letter. Through Dimmesdale, he presents the evil character that he is presenting. He is a good character. He is master. He is a very marvelous character in front of the population, in front of the people. But deep inside, he committed wrong with, you can say, his wife or his beloved. Okay, then we have Herman Melville, who wrote Moby Dick. Also, we have another work like House, Seven of Gables, and so many works. So that's why they are anti to each other. Now, so we can say that before American realism, we have American romanticism. So Emerson, he saws America as a good, but dark romanticism, the writers, they saw the same America as devil one. Okay. Now, American realism, that is the time of Victorian period in European. And Victorian period, you will find they are against the romanticism. They said, no, we don't want imagination, we don't want individualism, we want utilitarian theme, we want materialistic life, we want facts life. So similar can be happen in our American realism. Now, Civil War ends in 1860. Now, after Civil War, so the people has war mentality. So it is said that cities were destroyed and families were broken at that time, and the economy was shattered. So slowly and steadily, lost generation, judge aid, beat generation was emerging somehow. So, and America, right, and American writers, they look at all for this, and they said, they make a decision that no more imagination, no more oversoul, no more gothic fiction. Now we will write life exactly as it is. That is why they have generating realism. Whatever is happening in our life, we will present as it is. That is carbon copy. So Reconstruction era, we will reconstruct everything. Rapid industrialization, rise of cities, immigration, class tension, economic inequality can be seen in this time. Truthful representation of everyday middle class. It is called verisimilitude. That is truth-like representation. Okay, verisimilitude. Now, ordinary characters. Now, they focus more on ordinary character instead of some shown. They use vernacular language. There is a no flowery language. Local color. Realism is called local color. It is reaction against romanticism, idealism that you said, na? Everything is good because we are from nature, work on your inner soul. So he said, no, everything is not good. So you can say somehow they are with dark romanticism. They wrote on social problems, poverty, race, gender, and class. So you will find the narration is very objective. Now, American classicism is further divided into many branches. First, they have social realism like Howells, regional and local color. Mark Twain, he wrote with realism, which is called regional realism. Psychological realism can be found in Henry James' work. Feminist realism can be found in Kate Chopin work. Okay, so let us have a look on regional realism because this is the important one so far as Mark Twain is considered. The first is thing that William Dean Howells, he is called the father of American realism, and this is your PYQ. Okay, and he wrote The Rise of Silas Mapham. This is important writing he wrote, and it is the most powerful literary editor of his time. He decided wrote this work, and he shows the corruption hiding inside the American dream. So this time is of American dream, vernacular language, satire, and the American voice. Now, Mark Twain, this is the pen name, and the original name is Samuel Clemens. He wrote the Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, and this is his early mature time before he wrote Roughing It, Life at Mississippi Reader, and The Prince and the Pauper. So these are the works of Mark Twain. We also have Kate Chopin, who wrote The Awakening, Feminist Realism. We have Sarah Orne, she wrote The Country of the Pointed First. Local color means regional realism. Okay, and you know what, there is a quoting I want to add here by Hemingway. He wrote for Mark Twain that all the realism work comes from The Adventure of Huckleberry Finn. So this is called the biggest work of regional realism. Okay, so you will find here they work on stream of consciousness like Henry James. You can add or Henry James here, who wrote A Portrait of Lady, which is based on psychological, and he also wrote The Art of Fiction. And so we can say romantics said what could be life be, so realism said that how actually the life can be. Okay, so and this answer broke the heart of people, that life is very distasteful for people. Now we have American naturalism. Now realism came, then what happened with American naturalism? Like realism said, let us show life as it is. But naturalism said, you are too gentle, realism, dear, please stop, let me be here. So you can say realism on steroid is called naturalism. This is the expanded version of realism. They were based on determinism, environment, and the beast within. Who coined this term, human beast? Emile Zola coined this term and said that human is a beast, human beast concept. If you free human and if you want to see the beast in human, then the extreme means then you put the man to his extreme, that is extreme terror, extreme hunger, extreme greed, extreme lust, and you will find the result, which is very dangerous and drastic. And in today's time we can see, like we can see the war happened how many days, and we do not know how many days it will continue. We can see so many rapists now, they are moving freely here and there. That is the human beast, how brutally they raped little girls, and even they do not feel sorry for that. No, even single sorry. That is another thing. They will be guilty or not one. That is another thing. But they do not feel a little bit sympathetically towards a man. You can find so many mob lynching case that they just put the man into the fire, and they do not feel that how much pain the person is feeling at that time. So this is called human beast nature, and now it is clearly shown in our society. So realism showed ordinary people with ordinary mindset, ordinary problems, but naturally showed ordinary peoples being crushed by forces completely into the environment, into the heredity, into the determinism philosophy, and they are highly influenced by Darwinian philosophy. And that Darwinian philosophy, it shook, it shattered all over the world. Okay, then we have Emile Zola, naturalism, presented that term. We have Herbert Spencer's social Darwinism theory. Okay, now realism, so you can say realism observed light, but naturalism dissected it like a scientist dissects a body into a lab. So he said it is like a cold, pressy, merciless time of American literature. So we have here three things. That first we have Herbert Spencer's social Darwinism. He said that poor people are poor because they are very weak, and nature is different for everyone. In Romanticism, we said that nature is very cute, very pleasant, and it is powerful too. Okay, but American naturalism said that man law is important rather natural law. Why? Now, for them, nature is different. Nature is indifferent for everyone. For rich, it is a different one. For poor, it is different one. For example, if rain comes, for the rich people, it is a romantic, pleasant time. But for a poor, this is a drastic time. So nature is indifferent. Universe is indifferent for the people one. Jonah says about naturalism, I told you about beast within. Then we have theory, the origin of species. Now, they said that human beings, they are controlled by heredity, environment, and instinct. So these are three main ideas of this period. They said that human, when we combine science and our realism, then we get naturalism. It is a pessimistic, they present a pessimistic worldview here. Characters are trapped by forces beyond control. You can say realism is a photograph of life. A good photograph, you just click that one. But X-ray of life is our naturalism. They believed on determinism. That is heredity, environment, determine everything. Free will is an illusion. You are living in a place where corruption is okay, corruption is good one. Then you cannot say that corruption is bad one, and for you that is okay. If you are living in an environment where education is important, so you will be educated. So this is because of our social environment. This is because of our parenting, heredity. We are making so and we made so. Okay, so they believed on pessimism. They said that characters, they are almost always fail or suffer. No happy endings in the life of people, as we have seen so many cases in our news channel every day. And the philosophy is survival at fittest, survival instinct. Characters reduced to animal like struggle for survival. Okay, and you will find scientific detachment, lower class setting in the works of their people, sexuality, like they treated women, or you can say the marginalized, with ill behavior. You will find heredity, that is what your parents is giving you. So these kind of ideas were so these kind of ideas you will find in American literature. Like we have Theodore Dreiser, who wrote Sister Carrie, An American Tragedy. Stephen Crane, who wrote Maggie, A Girl at Streets, The Red Beige Parade. All works are very important, and you were somehow PYQ different paper. Then we have Frank Norris, who wrote McTeague and The Octopus. Jack London, who wrote The Call of Wild, and Martin Eden. So these are important work written by these American naturalist writers. So they can directly say who were not naturalist writer among this one. Okay. And you know what American naturalism, Emile Zola called it experimental novel. So like Germinal, this is important work. You will find Bible, it is called Bible of Naturalism. Okay. So in nutshell, we can say American naturalism, they did not believe in American dream. They believed in American reality. Their mindset is beyond imagination, dream. Okay. So in the reality, most people don't make it. They cannot get or attain American dream, so they know the reality. That's why they are more pessimistic. Not because they don't try, but because the world was never designed for them to live for. This is the time of American modernism, 1910 to 1945. That is the time of World War I, happened in 1914 to 1918. Now, naturalism said, you are an animal. Environment will crush you. And then something happened that made even naturalism look optimistic. How? What? That is World War I. 17 million people died at that time. Not in a jungle, not in a famine, killed by other human beings through, or you can say by using poison gas, by using nuclear bomb, machine guns, and industrial efficiency. So this war was supposed to last actually 3 months and lasted 4 years. This civilization actually, and this civilization is called the most advanced civilization in human history, because they had not just committed the most organized mass murder in human history. This is very sarcastic. We are now, before that American modernism context, or you can say a modernism phase, we are talking about nature, God, we are talking about love. But now what happened? Naturalism, it is true. Okay, now we are talking about human beast, their instinct. So if everything we believe was a lie, how do we write? What do we write and in what language? Because the old language feels completely broken at this time. Now it was a simple language. They are talking about linear narratives. But now in American modernism, everything is broken. All would be shattered. And now the answer of this question is given by our writer. So first we have World War I. This is a massive shock for the people. Everything is shattered. American dream is shattered. Okay. Then it destroys the faith in progress and traditional values. We have now Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis theory, Einstein relativity, Marxism, urbanization, not deconstruction theory is not there, structuralism here. So this is a time of Judge Age, Great Depression era, rise of fascism can be considered here. So like Friedrich Nietzsche, he said that God is dead. This is his most controversial statement. He said, like in Puritan, what we read, that God is everything. Then we started that God is nature, and now God is dead. So this phase, as you can say, how the transition happened in literature. So on one hand, naturalism, that is the previous age, it crushed the environment. Now the modernists, they lost in mind, they lost in war, they were shattered. They have scientific observation, they have psychological observation. Now they are thinking, what should we do now? Because they do not have money, they do not have job, they do not have any goal to write anything. So they wrote with non-linear things. Now for them, time is not smooth. Now for time is nostalgic. So we will find here stream of consciousness, interior monologue, unreliable narrator. They have fragmented structure like fragmented soul, non-linear time. They use flashback technique. Multiple perspective can be seen. Alienation, disillusionment, existential crisis, because war gave them shock. You will find imagism in their poetry, objectivism, clear, preachy, concentrated image. And the most important thing, Ezra Pound's motto, make it new, because everything was broken, devastated, destruction. So they want to rebuild everything. So they said, yes, let's make it new. Make it according to our new soul. So you can say when naturalism broke the body, modernism broke the soul of people. So throw away every oral convention, oral tradition, and that came before. New forms, new language, new structure, new everything. Let's make something new for us. And that's why they use stream of consciousness technique, interior monologue, and these kind of thing in their work. They have illusion, epiphany, like sudden movement of insight, okay, then intertextuality. So these kind of words you have to remind while American modernism is there. So major writers, they have T.S. Eliot, who wrote The Wasteland, Ezra Pound, they have also, he wrote The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. We have Fitzgerald, Hemingway, and so many. Now, there are many movements associated with this. First, we have Lost Generation. It is 1920s time. The major two novelists, we have Fitzgerald and Hemingway. He wrote The Sun Also Rises. Fitzgerald, he wrote The Great Gatsby. They were talking about failure of American dream through their characters. Okay. Yes, he also gave iceberg theory. This is very important. Okay, and it is also your PYQ. Then we have Southern Gothic writers. These are the group of writers in which we have William Faulkner, Flannery O'Connor, Tennessee Williams, and then Carson and Harper Lee. They are important writers of Southern Gothic. You have to remind these writers that who were associated with Southern Gothic movement, who were associated with Lost Generation. Like in Southern Gothic means they have macabre theme, they have ironic and macabre themes to present and to critique on the social on the social guilt, social norm, and present social corruption in their work. Like William Faulkner, he got Nobel Prize in 1949. He has fictional setting. He wrote The Sound and Fury, which is taken from Macbeth. Okay, so then we have Tennessee Williams, who wrote that were named A Streetcar Named Desire, The Glass Menagerie, and Harper Lee, who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. And so also Flannery has given grotesque character. William Faulkner is known as the father of stream of consciousness in American literature. Then we have Harlem Renaissance. It is talking about African American Black identity, in which they are talking about the African literature, slavery, abolitionist, in which we have Zora Neale Hutchinson, The Rise of the Watching God. We have Claude Mackay, Countee Cullen, Langston Hughes. These all are important. He is considered, he is the pioneer of Harlem Renaissance. She is considered as the naturalist novel pioneer. Okay, so they all are important. You have to keep all the members in your mind. Okay, so this is about your some movements happen in American modernism time. Then we have American postmodernism. Now this is time of American postmodernism, and you can say contemporary time, in which you will find deconstruction, metafiction, and death of grand narratives. So this American postmodernism, like European literature, it is based complete on post-World War II. Now we have one devastation, destruction. People are not overcoming from that fear, from the destruction. Now World War II happened. So this is the time of Cold War, Vietnam, civil rights, consumer capitalism. People are believing on ad, mass media, culture materialism. You will find here your literary theory concept, but I will not add them because it will become more massive for you. Then there is a post-structuralism. We have theory of Derrida, Foucault. Lyotard is very important because he has given the phrase incredulity towards meta-narratives. That is, they believed in minimalistic approach, like feature in which we have metafiction, break the fourth wall. Fiction that is self-aware of its own fictional nature. You will say the fourth wall. Simple. Okay. We have pastiche, parody, intertextuality. I mean, pastiche means to imitate the old thing but without mocking. Okay, it means blank imitation but without mocking the original one. They rejected the objective truth. Multiple realities, multiple perspective can be found here. Historiographic metafiction, this is your PYQ. Blending real history with fiction, magical realism, surrealism, fragmented plots, unreliable narrator, black humor, paranoia, entropy and heroism. Entropy means breaking down into disorder. And who is associated with entropy? That is your Thomas Pynchon. He is associated with this work. Okay, and it is very important so far as Thomas Pynchon is considered. They evolved anti-heroic characters. Now there are many, you can say, small movements. First we have Beat Generation. We like Judge H, associated with Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, William S. Burgo. Jack Kerouac, he is considered as, you can say, the pioneer of spontaneous prose. We have Allen Ginsberg, who wrote Hole, William S. Burgo, who wrote Naked Lunch. We have contemporary and multicultural, that is minimalistic approach. It is based on minimalistic approach. And minimalism, for minimalism, Raymond Carver, this is the important name, and your set PYQ, what we talk about when we talk about love. So this is also your PYQ. Multicultural literature, that is diverse voices, diaspora experience. Okay. Then we have confessional poetry, Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton, Robert Lowell. 9/11 literature, it is on September 11, that terrorist attack. So like Don DeLillo, Falling Man, he's associated with that 9/11 literature. Then for extremely loud and He's your another writer. So Cormac McCarthy, Alice Walker, Jhumpa Lahiri, David Foster Wallace, they are your contemporary writer. Just read this and take screenshot of this video of your screen and add these into your notes. And also we have autofiction, that is autobiography plus fiction. This is your new term. It is coined by French author Serge Dubois in 1977. So the writer like Bret Easton Ellis, Sheila Heti, Maggie Nelson, Chris Cross, Ben Lerner, they are associated with this autofiction. They are your new writers, you can say. Just keep them name in your mind. Then postmodern time, we have like cyberpunk literature, AI literature. We have many different terms associated with postmodern time, like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials. So this kind of theory, vocab, we have different in postmodern time. It is very flexible time. Okay. So this is all about your American literature. If you enjoyed this lecture and if you enjoy Megha discourse content, then please share, like and subscribe our channel. If you have not watched the master video on history of English literature, then go and watch. This is important. And yes, we also are doing linguistics in which we have covered 4 classes. Now the next classes I will upload very soon. So bye bye, take care.